And this one is a competitive game where players are going to be training their dragons in order to try and win 5 different challenges in a tournament in order to score the most victory points at the end of the game. These 5 different challenges are going to be chosen by the players at the start of the game. You're going to be resolving one of them at the end of each round. Something that's really neat about this game is that it does feature an I split you choose mechanism, where at the start of every round there's always going to be an active player, and then that player is going to be taking all the dice, rolling them, and then splitting them into separate groups however they like, so that each player can draft a set of dice with the person that rolled going last. The different dice will feature different icons on them, which can be spent in 2 different ways. You can either spend the die to get matching tiles that you're going to be placing onto your board, with each row on the board being restricted to a certain colored tile. The whole purpose of this is that you're trying to create different patterns on your board that you can then spend in order to upgrade your dragon by matching the patterns on the different tiles that make up your dragon. Whenever you do this, the tiles that you spent still remain on your board, but you're going to be flipping them to the other side, which means that the more upgrades you do, the less space you're going to have left on your board in order to do future upgrades. This means that you really have to consider which tiles and where you're spending out on your board so that you don't put yourself in a corner. But the other option you have when spending your dice is that you can spend it on the location below your dragon, because there's going to be a bunch of these different recessed locations that all start the game with a gem in them, and if you haven't already taken the gem from that location, you can spend one of your dice that matches the location under the gem in order to gain that gem, but then also activate one of the special abilities located around that location. These can gain you one-time use cards, abilities to remove some of your used tiles from your board, or even grant you with different resources that can boost your dragon's power. But like I said, you can only do this if you haven't already taken the gem, so if you have, then you're not able to do this. And also it is possible that you don't have any space left on your board for a particular color, so if you end up with a die that you're not able to use on either of these boards, then that is going to come with a negative consequence. And you're going to be gaining a black crystal each time that happens, which you're going to have to assign to one of the 3 locations on your dragon, and it's going to be reducing the power of that specific location. This is of course something you want to avoid, because you're going to need to have as much strength as possible in order to try and come out on top in the tournament phase, because at the end of each round you're going to be resolving the next tournament card at the bottom of the board, and these are going to be depicting a body part of the dragon as well as a color. Each player then calculates the strength of their dragon by looking at the tile depicting that specific body part, adding any strength from any modifiers, and then removing any strength from those black crystals. The color of the card represents the color of the crystals that you can use to increase the strength of your dragon. The way this works is that each player is going to have this little wheel here, and you're going to be bidding in secret the amount of crystals that you want to add onto your dragon. This adds a little bit of push your luck, where you might want to spend less now so that you have more of those gems left in the future. But after all players have made their bids and you've calculated the final strength of your dragon, the players that came in first and second are going to be gaining victory points, with of course the person in first gaining the most victory points. This continues for the 5 rounds until all those challenge cards are completed. Then the player with the most overall victory points is the one that wins the game, and if you do want to check this one out, I will have it linked down below.